So the iPhone 17 has been released, and it's probably one of the best values in the iPhone base model in years. So in this episode, we're going to talk about if you have one of the older base model iPhones, which ones to upgrade and why. We're also going to talk about if maybe it's worth just keeping one of these or not. But this one, definitely probably the best base in years. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And let's go ahead and begin with the very first one, the Apple iPhone 11. This is the oldest iPhone here, and it might actually kick out here during this video. I'm only on 1%. So if it does, we're just gonna have to roll with it. But LCD here, it is going to get iOS 26. You can see a beta version on it right now, but thicker bezels. This one's an easy upgrade. This is very old at this point. The bezels feel very thick. The phone feels kind of like a brick, honestly, compared to some of these newer, sleeker ones. Yes, you still have a dual camera with the same layout here going in a vertical direction, but you get bigger cameras. You'll get a much smoother OLED 120 Hz ProMotion display, and you're going to get much better front-facing camera than the 12 megapixel on the iPhone 11, which was also a pretty good camera at the time. In addition, the battery life was really good on the iPhone 11, and I do believe that doing this upgrade, everything you've loved about your 11 just gets better now. You might not love that you don't have a SIM card anymore, and you might not love that it's OLED if you're into LCD panels, but the iPhone 11 has been on its way out for a long time, and some people actually still have it though. So if you are ready to upgrade the 17, this is a very, very easy recommendation. Let's move on to the next one, the iPhone 12. Finally, in 2025 with the iPhone 17, you do have an actual worthy upgrade from this phone. And why do I say finally? Because some people might say, I upgraded the 12 a while ago. Well, honestly, if you look at every iPhone that came after the 12, they've only been kind of minor upgrades if you look at really what it was offering, because this one had Face ID, OLED screen, had the newer design language of the, since the iPhone 12, they've kind of been pretty similar. And yes, while they did change the angle of the camera, the 12 had 5G like most of the newer iPhones. And because of that OLED size and staying with the 6.1, they've kept it the same over the years. The phone has basically been just kind of like refined a little bit over the years. 13 was definitely better in the battery life, but everything about the 17 is a real solid upgrade over the 12. We're talking about better upgraded cameras, no more Lightning port, which feels like a very old port on this one in 2025. You do have a really lightweight design here, but if you always wanted a little bit bigger screen, you'll get the 6.3 inch now for the 17. And if you love the vertical camera array, that comes back. And while this one was very flat, you will get yourself thicker camera bumps, but they're going to be much better cameras, longer zoom. Also, ceramic shield is stronger than ever on the newer phone. In addition to that, it's still aluminum like this phone, but you'll get a camera control button instead of this 5G antenna right here. You also get an action button. You'll go away from this long older notch. You'll get dynamic island. You'll get finally a smoother display, because every display that preceded or came after the iPhone 12 was basically the same 60 Hertz OLED panel, just a little bit different in color accuracy, but generally it's basically been the same display all this time. So if you have an iPhone 12 and you've just been waiting it out for the whole time, you just seen, I just talked about all those upgrades that are coming. Not only that, the iPhone 12 is actually feeling a little bit slower these days. It still works fine, but it feels a little bit slower with its 4 gigabytes of RAM, especially on multitasking. And when you're playing games and stuff like that, this phone definitely heats up way too much. So you'll get a much more efficient phone for gaming in the newer phone, as well as just everyday performance is going to feel much better than iPhone 12. And the iPhone 12, while still functional, you could make it another year, no problem. It runs iOS 26. Just due to the weaker battery life, this phone and the weaker performance, especially when pushing it, I do think the 17 is a great upgrade if you're coming from that iPhone 12 right there. So definitely it's time on the 12 as well. Let's talk about two phones in one, since they're basically the same thing with minor upgrades. I actually dumped the iPhone 14 a while ago, just kept my 13 just because the 14 is basically the same thing with action mode and a couple of enhancements to speed. But generally they look the same. The 13 and the 14, both of these phones are finally, I think, a worthy upgrade as well to the 16. These were some of the best in years. I actually think the 17 is the best iPhone upgrade since the 13, which was a very, very popular phone here, mostly because it just really did everything good. It had great dual cameras, great design. Additionally, a really nice display. The notch was a little bit different. Generally, this phone just sold super well. And I think for all the same reasons this phone sold well, I think the iPhone 17 is going to sell well. But it has an even better one, and that's the ProMotion. I'm going to keep talking about that a lot throughout this video and going forward because it's a thing I've been asking for forever. So now I'm just going to give it its flowers because it's about time. And you could say, well, they could have had that a long time ago. And the fact of the matter is, yes, they could have. But you can't complain that we have it now. You gotta be happy that we got it now, because if we had another 60 hertz, I know a lot of people would have been skipping the base model 17. But based on my recent polling, a lot of people are saying that they are very happy with that base model upgrade to the 17, mostly because they've been waiting on that one feature. And honestly, good move by Apple by keeping the price still at $799 and giving it that one feature that everybody wants, which is the ProMotion. Also giving you double the storage. And all of these, started at lower storage tiers than the 17. They did have 256 gigs, but if you had one of the base models, that was not great for you, because you either got 64 or 128 at those base levels, so that was not great. The 13 having a lightning port, kind of still like the 12. Great cameras, but they are upgraded. Great front-facing camera in here as well, but they're also upgraded to do landscape modes now. And finally, sharper results are going to be had on the newer phone. Generally, everything that is great about the iPhone 13 is definitely being upgraded on the 17. Sans the pink in certain colors, you might not like all the color options, but a lot of people seem to have found, I've been seeing a lot of comments about how they like the sage colorway, the mist blue, the lavender. So there's plenty of colors to choose from. And there might even be a new color in the spring. We're not sure about that, but definitely sometimes they do release a new color with these base models. We'll have to see if that comes true. But if you have a 13 or a 14, the processor upgrade, Apple Intelligence, 8 gigabytes of RAM, doubling your RAM, having basically everything in a good value price point, it's a good upgrade from the 13 for sure. Moving on to where it starts to get a little bit questionable now, the iPhone 15. So this one does have a 6.1 inch screen. So going to the 6.3, which would be one of your bigger upgrades. If I go here to the sides, you'll notice that the bezels are a little bit thicker than what you'll find on the Pro. It's very minimal, but having these thinner bezels with the 6.3 inch on the base model 17 will make it feel like a sleeker, nicer phone. And while you still do have the same dynamic island as the 15, you don't have the same camera design. So you'll have a newer looking camera design that will be more reminiscent of the 16. Also, this phone let me down in the fact that it didn't have the action button. The 15 didn't have a few things I didn't like. I didn't like too much, and that was Apple Intelligence not available. And I know it's not that good, but still, down the line when it does get better, I want it on my phone long term, if you know what I mean. Also, really fast performance on the 15, no problem for core Apple users. If you're just using the core experience, iOS, iMessage, camera, basic stuff, the 15 is still an amazing phone. It's blistering fast for basic everyday use. However, it doesn't have 8 gigabytes of RAM, so it's going to feel slower in the long haul. It does have an A16 Bionic, which is very, very fast chip. But generally, this phone right here just tends to need just a few more upgrades to really push it to the modern age. And that's going to be number 1, ProMotion display, which has come to the 17. Also, that 6.3 is great for a base model. This also started with lower storage tier. And while you finally got USB-C here, no camera control, still a 5G antenna right there. Also, no action button, old silence switch, and front-facing camera. A lot of people buy the base models do use them for social media and stuff like that. So it would be nice to have that landscape mode. And for a lot of the reasons I talked about this is also a good upgrade. This also doesn't have tremendous battery life. It's good, but it's not tremendous. And I do think the 17 with its more efficient processor and stuff will actually outshine the iPhone 15. So iPhone 15 was a really solid option. It was a good upgrade from like the 12, 13, but This 17 though is definitely way ahead of the iPhone 15. So let's talk about the 16 now. So if you just got an iPhone 16 and you're past the return period, you are probably kicking yourself if you got it recently, because everything about the 16 to the 17 is going to be rather similar. But the main things that were aggravating me about the 16 are fixed now. 120 hertz is the main one. That's about it. The speed was fine on this phone. It was a good phone, plenty fast, 8 gigabytes of RAM, Apple A18 chipset. It has the action button. It has the camera control button. Has the USB-C. Beautiful color right here. It pops. But overall, that 60 hertz display, it just made it feel like it was missing something. And we all know that's what it is. So if you have the 16 and you just got it, I would actually consider selling it if it's still in great shape and getting a substantial amount still, because you could still get $600 for this. And yeah, you might have to pay a little bit, like a couple $100 or whatever, but you'll get yourself the 17 with the 6.3 and you'll get yourself the 120 hertz. That's not a recommended upgrade. You don't have to do it, but I'm saying if you're kicking yourself and you want a new one, you could get rid of this for a good amount of money and get that 17, which is basically what the 16 should have been. But yeah, you don't have to do the upgrade. The 16 does have most of what the 17 is going to have, but missing some of those critical features like the new landscape, selfie camera, upgraded performance on that selfie camera, and the ProMotion, which really changes the game, while having a 6.3 closer to that of the iPhone 16 Pro. So that's going to wrap it up here for me, all the way back to things like the iPhone 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The base models are all definitely being upgraded here to the 17, giving you a better value than ever before. So I think it's time that the 17 base gets some love, because having those thinner bezels, 6.3, having a $799 price point with 256 gigs, it's basically like a cheaper Pro at this point. Whereas before there was always something the Pros were doing much better. Now the Pros only are going to do the things that Pros actually need to do better, and not everybody's going to be using those Pro features. So I think a lot of people should just go with the base model this year. I'll talk about that more in my comparisons. Of course, me, Tech YouTube, I'm definitely going to want to do the high end stuff, because that's what we do. We do the highest end of the market, but we got to give the base model some love. So let me know your thoughts overall on this one. Which one are you upgrading? Do you have any of these you see here? Are you planning on upgrading? You're still not sure exactly which model you want to go with? There's going to be a lot of questions this fall, and pre-orders start tomorrow. So you might want to go get one in, or get your iPhones ready for pre-order. But if you're not ready yet, don't worry about it. I'm going to cover all of these iPhones. We're going to do some comparisons on pretty much all the different angles and questions you have about these products, because they're going to be hot for the coming next coming months here. So let's go ahead and get subscribed, get the notifications turned on, and thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And again, leave your comments, questions, concerns down below. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.